Gosh, first-time buyer journeys are so exciting for me. There's so much emotion that goes with it because you're investing in your own first property. From my experience, we've just seen that they can be very, very nervous and they just really sometimes don't know where to start. Whether it is how you go and start looking for a property or who do you actually use as an agency, especially things like coming to the bond. What interest rate is it that you need to look at? Who do you use for your bonds? There's so much to talk about. That's one of the journeys that probably excites me the most.
Before we take our listeners on this property journey, why don't you introduce yourself to us and to the audience?
So, my name is Mia Acutt. I am part of the Acutts real estate family business. I've been working alongside my husband, Jonathan, for the last 8 years. I've always been super passionate about education or educating people on the different journeys. In the last couple of years, I've found that there's so much that can be taught to first-time buyers, sellers, tenants, and even first-time investors. So I came up with this idea to start a podcast. So I'd like to say welcome to all our listeners and our audience. I'm super excited about this journey and taking you on your own property journey.
Amazing. And let's just dive in about what RealTalk SA is really about. If you could just give us a little bit of a background and what's going to entail of it.
I came up with RealTalk South Africa, which I felt covered all the bases of talking about real estate in South Africa specifically, and really passionate about taking people on their different journeys. So starting off with a tenant, whether you're a first-time tenant, and taking you through what that journey entails every step of the way. Once you've been a tenant, you'd probably want to look at buying a property. So then you would go onto the buyer's journey with us. And then eventually when you're looking at, finding a different home, you're going to be selling your home and then you'd be a seller. So we would take you on the seller's journey. And maybe further down the line, you want to invest in your own property and build your own property portfolio. It's really just an educational platform to take people through every step of the journey.
Awesome. And I know you just mentioned something about the journeys. So I just wanted to dive into what a tenant journey is and who exactly is it for?
There's so much to talk about, I think, on every journey, but specifically on the tenant journey, I think there's a lot of legalities, legal things, red tape that you need to know about. Also aligning yourself with the right companies that actually have expertise in every different step of the way, making sure you align yourself with the right agent or agency, which we'll talk a lot about in the different episodes.
Awesome. And then when a tenant wants to start buying, or maybe just a individual that would like to start their buyer journey, what is it all about and who exactly would this be targeted to?
Gosh, first-time buyer journeys are so exciting for me. I think there's so much emotion that goes with it because you're investing in your own first property. And I think from my experience, we've just seen that they can be very, very nervous and they just really sometimes don't know where to start. I think and offering them, the expertise advice on every step of the journey, whether it is how you go and start looking for a property or who do you actually use as an agency, especially things like coming to the bond. What interest rate, is it that you need to look at? Who do you use for your bonds? There's so much to talk about. That's one of the journeys that probably excites me the most because you're really starting your homeowner's journey.
And with a seller of their home, so you have a homeowner that's wanting to sell their property. What is the seller journey for them and who is it targeting?
Gosh, sellers' journeys can be so difficult sometimes, not in a negative way, but you're dealing with people's emotions. They might have been in their family home for 15 or 20 years and they're ready to move on to a different property. So I think it's also important, through our podcast episodes that we're not just dealing, like I said earlier, with the legalities, but we're also dealing with helping people and holding their hand through the journey. When you're selling a property for the first time, there's so much to consider. Who do you give the property to? What price do you need to sell it at? What you think it's worth is not necessarily what it's going to sell for, because it all depends on whether we are in a buyer's market or a seller's market. So it's really just to create, again, a platform to help people through every step of the way.
Amazing. And with the investors of South Africa, I know that there's quite a few out there. So what is the investor journey and who is it targeting?
Investments is also very exciting. I think when you start building your property portfolio, sometimes it will be a first, little apartment, and you grow that portfolio. But I think really, really important to know that how can you grow your investment? When do you need to sell it and maybe invest your money in a different property that's going to grow? We look on your year-on-year yields. I think it's also important to align yourself with businesses that use the right software. You've got rental asset management. There's just so much to talk about. But I think when you're doing it for the first time, it's really to have the expertise, that I'll obviously be talking to, that will give advice to make sure that you make the right decisions when you start investing for the first time.
With this podcast, where's an opportunity for a person that is watching this podcast or listening to it to get more advice or to just dive in deeper with the content that's coming out of this?
My suggestion would be, if you're really serious about any of the journeys, is to follow the podcast, look at the episodes that pertain to you, but reach out to us either via the comment box. There's also, contact numbers. You can just drop us a direct message and we'd be happy to answer. We're also looking for more content to talk about. So if there's specific questions that you want us to answer on the podcast, or anyone particular that you'd like us to talk to, or a specific topic that you want us to talk about, this is kind of the information that we need, because then it's more personal for you and the information that you really want. So yes, just reach out to us via any of the social media platforms, specifically TikTok, I think would be a good one, and also our YouTube channel. So we'd love to hear from you. It's very interactive, and we'd really love to answer what questions it is that you have.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to the listeners that are starting this podcast with us?
I'm just so excited for this journey. So welcome to everyone. And I'm really looking forward to engaging with each and every one of you. And please follow us on all the different platforms. We're going to be releasing an episode every 2 weeks on the different journeys. So tune in and give us a follow. And we're really, really excited to take you on this journey and educating you and taking you forward in your property journeys.